Good evening. It is 7 p.m. Arizona time, and this is our monthly session for Desert Blockchain on Wednesday, November the 30th, 2022. And I will stop screen sharing. So thank you for joining. My name is Jay Carpenter. I'm founder of Desert Blockchain and Desert Blockchain Camps. I'm also a member of the SNAC team, which is competing in the Stellar Community Fund number 11, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. But our main topic of conversation this evening is the Soroban Adoption Fund, which the Stellar Development Foundation has allocated $100 million over the next 2 years to introduce and to enhance adoption of Soroban, which, if you're not familiar with Soroban, it is a native to the Stellar Network smart contract construct that's still in testing mode, but now's the opportune time for the community that's interested to find out about Soroban and start to experiment with it. And we'll talk about some of the incentives that are in place. So, but before we get into the presentation and so forth, just to introduce you to Desert Blockchain, we are the largest blockchain community in Arizona. We have almost 2,500 members, and it's free to join via Meetup. However, if you're interested in becoming a citizen, you can go to Patreon and become a Desert Blockchain citizen for $10 per month, and that entitles you to additional benefits like joining these monthly sessions via Zoom and getting advanced copies or advanced links to the presentations and so forth. And we're working on some other enhanced benefits that also tie into Desert Blockchain Camp at 27th Avenue and Georgia in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's a little bit about Desert Blockchain and myself. We've been having our building our community since 2015, and we're very excited about what's happening with Stellar and all the opportunities that are available. So let's go ahead and get into the presentation. And there might be some others joining us, but we will go ahead and by the way, this presentation will be available to the public starting tomorrow morning after about 6 a.m. So you can click on the link in Patreon and see this presentation. So this is a shot of a recent session that some of the folks at Stellar did last Monday. And on the left, we have Tyler, who's one of the lead developers for Stellar, and then Anuhia, who is a community manager and developer liaison, and also is actively involved in the allocation of the funds for the Soroban Fund and other things. And we were very lucky in the Community Fund 11 boot camp that Anuhia was our mentor throughout the boot camp, and the boot camp was an awesome experience. We were grateful for that, and our team learned a lot from the Stellar Community Fund number 11 boot camp. So here is one of the first announcements on the Stellar Development Foundation launching the $100 million fund to support native smart contract adoption, and also to basically get the developer community to start to experiment with Soroban and create tutorials and workshops and all sorts of ways to get introduced to the Stellar community if they're not already introduced, but also to start to explore this smart contract functionality, which I'm really excited about because I think it opens up a ton of possibilities. So here's the topics for this evening. We'll talk about a few definitions, and definitions basically include an introduction to the Stellar community, what it is, and so forth. Then I'm going to share why Stellar, the Stellar ecosystem is attractive to me, and compare it a little bit to some of the other options that are out there that, you know, all of us could get involved with and spend our time and attention on. But you know, why Stellar? What is the attraction, at least to Jay Carpenter and some of the other folks involved with the Desert Blockchain community? And then we'll talk about Soroban and where it's at, what the intention is, what the opportunity set is, and then we'll talk about how you can participate, and particularly some options that we will be introducing via the Desert Blockchain community at Desert Blockchain Camp, and some other events and things like that. So that's our topics for tonight. And if you're not familiar with Stellar, it is ranked number 25 on the coin market cap rankings in terms of market cap. They have a market capitalization, as you can see, about in the middle lower portion of the screen, of about $2.3 billion, and it kind of fluctuates between 2 billion and 3 billion. And if you're not familiar with market cap, basically, if you took the price of Stellar, which right now is about slightly less than 9 cents per lumen, and you multiplied that times the outstanding number of lumens, you would come up with a market capitalization of about 2.3 billion US dollars. So you can also see via Coin Market Cap connections to the Stellar website, their white paper, their community, and so forth. And I believe Stellar was started in about 2014. So let me stop the screen share actually, or move to a different web page, and just kind of go down the coin market cap list of some of the prominent projects that are out there, and I'll share with you, you know, why I like Stellar compared to some of these other items. So, or other projects. So everybody knows about Bitcoin, the, you know, original blockchain project that was, you know, has basically led the entire initiative, ecosystem, decentralization, so forth. I'm guessing that most people are familiar with Ethereum, which basically was created by Vitalik Buterin, and basically solved the how do you create a Turing complete, or how do you create a chain that can do smart contracts logic that covers all possible you know, logic functions, which is called Turing complete. You solve that basically with the gas, introducing a gas, but Ethereum has basically dominated the smart contract realm. And you know, we're talking about Soroban. Soroban is a way to introduce smart contract Turing completeness to the Stellar network and ecosystem. Won't talk about Tether or some of the stable coins, because those are kind of in a different category. XRP, which is Ripple, is relevant to Stellar because Jed McCaleb, the founder of Stellar, also was a founder of Ripple. And you can see Ripple has about a $20 billion market cap. And I am not an expert or familiar with Ripple by any means, but suffice it to say that, Jed McCaleb had a different vision of how he wanted to progress, left Ripple, and then basically founded Stellar. So that's relevant in this context. Dogecoin, we're not going to talk about that. Cardano, I don't know a lot about Cardano, but one of the things about Cardano that I think is interesting, but also a bit of a speed bump for people to get involved with, is the fact that it's uses functional programming, and it's my understanding they use Haskell and Scala, and that can be a rather challenging item to get your arms around if you're a developer and you haven't used that particular approach to programming. So the difference with Stellar is, at least up until Soroban, they've pretty much been almost all JavaScript and quite developer friendly. I'm not going to talk about Polygon. I know it's popular, but I am not that familiar with it, or Polkadot, Dai, Litecoin, some of these others, Solana, Tron. Chainlink is in a different category. Cosmos, Ethereum Classic, Monero's more in the privacy realm, but now we get down to Stellar. So I wanted to go through this list because you might say, well, why is Stellar number 25? Well, I think Stellar has done a great job of positioning itself to serve a particular purpose in terms of global payments. And they have not had the native smart contract functionality up until this point. But Stellar is in a bit of a different category than some of these other projects where you've seen phenomenal appreciation, and a lot of people follow the projects because some people have made enormous amounts of money on Ethereum and Bitcoin and so forth. And people have done well with Stellar, but it's really designed to be more of a functional, and by functional, I'm not talking about programming paradigm, but more of a really serving a purpose, being more of an operating network ecosystem and paradigm in terms of payments and opening up payments to the world than some of the other projects that are higher on the list than Stellar's at. So I won't dwell on that anymore, but I would recommend that if you've heard of Stellar in the past, and maybe you explored it, maybe you decided that some of the other projects were more interesting and so forth, I would suggest that you revisit Stellar, especially with the Soroban functionality, because I believe it offers some enormous potential for in many dimensions, and I'll start to talk about some of that. So here's some of the advantages that I see, with Stellar, and the reason I'm talking about this is because it's an acknowledgement of how much it takes to, or at least for me, how much it's taken for me to investigate various projects and spend my time and my attention and my limited technical skills to get introduced to a project, and then I want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that Stellar fit many of the dynamics and use cases that I'm interested in pursuing. And so, that's why I'm comparing to some of the other, let's say, perhaps higher profile projects like Ethereum and so forth. I really think that if you spend a little bit of time and look at Stellar and the advantages, you will see something that's very dynamic, very attractive from multiple viewpoints. So, not the least of which is speed. Basically, the blocks, you get single block fidelity in 6 seconds. So it's really fast. Cost is like a fraction of a cent per transaction, and incredibly affordable. So, some of the problems that some of the other projects have had in terms of high fees and prohibitive fees, you'll find that Stellar is very attractive from that standpoint. Integration. So when I talk about integration, Stellar has intentionally built their ecosystem to integrate with the legacy banking realm through something called anchors. And I think that's really, really powerful. Versatility. The functions you can do, creating NFTs, creating incredibly powerful constructs, path payments, things like that. And I won't go into the details of all these, but the integration with a number of fundamental functionality, I think, is very, very impressive. And same with versatility. It incorporates many of the existing cryptocurrencies that are out there. So it's a very versatile network and ecosystem. The consensus method is something called federated Byzantine fault tolerance. And it is, in my view, somewhat akin to web of trust, where you as a user of the network can direct and define who you trust to give you consensus every 6 seconds. I think that's really powerful, and is very attractive to me, at least from proof of work, proof of stake, even proof of space-time. So I think the consensus approach that Stellar has taken is very, very attractive. And I have a link to a video by the architect of the consensus method, David Mazieres of Stanford University, later in the presentation. Has a built-in decentralized exchange, another element that's really powerful, really attractive. Clawback functionality, so that if there's some sort of reason to reverse a transaction or burn a transaction, you can do that. Regulatory compliance. The leaders of the Stellar Development Foundation are very active and very committed to basically bridging the legacy regulatory realm with the contemporary decentralized web realm. I talked about the legacy banking compatibility. They have a very strong financial position, and that's kind of interesting because I was talking to a friend of mine about this today, and the $100 million Soroban fund, and his question was, well, is that real? Is it going to evaporate? And I said, it is real. It's not going to evaporate. They have a strong financial position, and this is different than some of um, the problems that we've seen as of late. The team's very impressive, and the other piece is, I get the sense that the founders, the people that are in leading the Stellar Development Foundation, are really committed to purpose. And in my view, there's two ends of the spectrum. There are, in this decentralized realm, there are mercenaries and there are missionaries. And what do I mean by that? Well, mercenaries, and this is a quote that I believe is attributed to Jeff Bezos, but I don't have anything to back that. But so mercenaries are people that are interested in basically the financial rewards, and that's pretty much the scope of what they're interested in. There's nothing wrong with that, and I call them the buy low, sell high folks. Nothing wrong with buying low and selling high. That's what we all want to do. But then there's another category of people, or there's another end of the spectrum, which I call missionaries. And the missionaries are interested in taking this decentralized technology, Web3, D-Web, whatever you want to call it, Web5, and opening up a whole new realm of functionality for human beings or humanity around the world. And my sense is that people associated with Stellar are in the missionary category. They're interested in making a difference, and they're also interested in the financial piece of this. Don't get me wrong, but their purpose of opening up financial empowerment to people all over the world, anywhere that can connect to the network, I think is very inspiring, at least to me. So there's other dimensions as well, but these are just some of the highlights, at least for me. So what are the disadvantages? Well, disadvantages is they're introducing Soroban, and Ethereum is clearly ahead in terms of smart contracts, especially now that Ethereum has migrated, it looks like successfully, at least so far, or they're in the process of their migration from proof of work to proof of stake. And I think there are many really impressive projects that are built upon Ethereum, leveraging their smart contract functionality. Stellar Lumens in general, and this gets back to the coin market cap item where Stellar is number 25 on the list, not as high as some of the others. I would characterize the Stellar Lumens as being sort of quiet compared to the other ecosystems favored by traders, because there's not, at least there is volatility, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't seem to be the level of volatility in some of the others, and the traders generally like the more volatile projects. So, and that's just my opinion, nothing scientific about that. The other is that to really start to get your arms around all the different dimensions of the Stellar ecosystem, it takes something. So they have done a fine job with the Stellar Quest tutorials, which I'd highly recommend. We're going to talk about those in a bit. But the dimensions to Stellar are pretty broad, pretty impressive. Excuse me. Welcome, Matthew. So I'm going through the presentation. Thanks for joining. So this is a little bit about me, and basically that's what we just went through is the bare bones basic of the introduction to Soroban and introduction to the Stellar network and so forth. The rest of the presentation is just sort of more items. Here's my contact information. I call it additional material and resources, but I would like to step through this and talk about some of these items and why they might be of interest to you. So this is our meetup session, which I would encourage you, if you want to get connected with the Desert Blockchain community, to join our meetup. But this allows you to get on the distribution list and sign up for new events that are coming up. Excuse me. So this is a presentation that I did for the ASU, Arizona State University, Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, for their Governance of Emerging Technology and Sciences conference that was May 19th and May 20th of 2022. But the reason I included this is because I highlighted Stellar, as you can see the Stellar logo in the center of this, as a potential foundation that might serve as like a financial backstop for incubating and fostering new projects. Excuse me. So in this presentation, I do talk about Stellar to a decent length, but it is another reason that I think Stellar is one of the stronger, more solid projects that's out there. This is another presentation that I did recently, and in fact, last month, entitled Military Advantage in Blockchain. And I highlight in this presentation how there's a connection between the Stellar ecosystem and the folks that are in Ukraine. So if you get into the Stellar elements, Stellar expert, their albedo wallet, and so forth, and you start to dig in, you'll find that some of those constructs have been created by developers in the Ukraine. And in this presentation, I talk about how the Ukrainian government is working with the Stellar Development Foundation to explore their central bank digital currency. Now, in addition, in this presentation, I talk about how some of the other countries that are on the western border of Russia have adopted blockchain in a very fundamental way, and partially as an approach to bolster their networks and their defense mechanisms. So what countries am I talking about? I'm talking about Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, and I think there might be one or two others in there. But the point of this is that, if you're going to get interested in Soroban and you're going to take the time and effort that is to learn Soroban, to start to experiment with it, are you dealing with a Stellar network and construct that is solid and sound? I think I like projects that are basically battle tested. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, any decentralized project out there, Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're constantly under attack by people that would like to compromise the system and basically take value out of those systems. But to take it a step further, if you've got a construct, and I don't think it's possible to assess exactly how much the Ukrainian country and community and citizens are using Stellar, but I assert that there's a high probability that the Stellar network and the Stellar applications that are popular in the Ukraine are being battle tested in this conflict that they're having with Russia. And for my time and attention, to see something that is actually possibly in a military conflict situation strengthens my view of the resilience and the viability of that particular construct. So you can watch this presentation and see what I'm talking about within this item. Now, let's talk about the consensus protocol, this federated Byzantine fault-tolerant approach to consensus. So this is David Mazieras, who's giving a Google talk at, I presume, Google headquarters. But here he talks about how he constructed this different approach to consensus and some of the dynamics behind it. And this approach gives Stellar this speed of 6 seconds on single block finality, extremely cheap, transaction costs, and other dynamic elements that I particularly find attractive. So you can watch this if you're interested, but suffice it to say that David Mazieras is very well respected in the computer science community and realm. He was one of the authors of something called Kademlia, which is a distributed hash table protocol that is used by many, including Protocol Labs for IPFS. I believe David was the professor for Juan Benet, who was the founder of Protocol Labs. But suffice it to say that he is well respected and I think has done a really incredible job of creating this consensus algorithm that opens up some really positive and attractive features of Stellar. So this is the other co-founder of Stellar Development Foundation, Jed McCaleb, and I spoke of him a little bit before, but you can listen to this Epicenter podcast, which is actually from 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer. But Jed McCaleb is also well regarded in the decentralized space and so forth. Now, he is the founder of Mt. Gox, which he sold, and then Mt. Gox had problems. But he was in early and created and had hands-on experience in creating an exchange, in creating all the constructs around Mt. Gox. Then he was one of the founders of Ripple, and then decided, I think in 2014, to go a separate way and create Stellar. So the point of that is that, in my view at least, Jed McCaleb has a phenomenal wealth of experience and success in this realm. And this is, to a large degree, his vision. Stellar is. So this is Danelle Dixon, and you can see this is 2 months ago. She frequently speaks to our United States Congress about various issues that they want an informed opinion about. I believe Danelle is an attorney by training and also has a very impressive background, but I'm highlighting her speaking to Congress as, at least in my view, a source of her credibility and regard in the overall ecosystem. And she's also, again, she is one of the leaders in pioneering new ways to bridge the legacy systems and regulatory realm with the contemporary. So back to Soroban. This is a session that our friends Tyler and Anuhia did on Monday morning. And I highly recommend that if you are interested in taking a look at the next more detail on Soroban, watch this video. And because they talk about some of the things that they're interested in seeing funded in connection with the $100 million Soroban adoption fund, some of which are tutorials, online tutorials, workshops, courses, classes, basically ways to educate people on how to use Soroban, which again is in a just simply a test mode. It's not live yet. And I believe in this session, they talk about the schedule for bringing it live. To shift a little bit more in terms of the connection between Desert Blockchain and Desert Blockchain Camp and the Stellar Community Fund and Stellar Ecosystem. We have a project in Desert Blockchain Camp at 27th Avenue in Georgia called Crypto Cannoneer. And I'm happy to say that in the prior slide, at about 52 minutes, 26 or 27 seconds into it, Tyler on the left says, hey, we had this really cool project that was innovative called Crypto Cannoneer. And, we'd love to see some fun development projects like that in the Soroban space. And then Anuhia mentions Desert Blockchain as well. So, I'm delighted to say that I feel like some of the key members of Desert Blockchain are enhancing their connection and strengthening their connection to the Stellar ecosystem. And that was started by Shane Sandler, Blockchaingerous, who invented Crypto Cannoneer, submitted to the Stellar Community Fund number 8, and took 2nd place and 5th place in the voting, and earned basically, or had a grant of totaling 20, all total last year in 2021. Crypto Cannoneer received $22,000 in funding from the Stellar Community Fund. In Stellar Community Fund number 8, it was a $20,000 in lumens figure. So take a look at that. And the other good thing about that is if you've got an interest in participating in future Stellar Community Funds, Shane, as well as some of the other folks, including myself, now have a base of experience on, what are some of the ins and outs of participating, what are some of the ways, places to focus. This is a video that Shane created for his submission to Stellar Community Fund number 10, where he was creating some innovative NFTs. But you could take a look at this short video, pretty entertaining, but it kind of ties how Crypto Cannoneer fits within the Desert blockchain ecosystem, and some of the objectives that Shane's out to create in terms of education and fun. So it's really a fun project. Might be offline right now because of some mechanical issues, but check it out from time to time. So this is our project for Stellar Community Fund number 11. The video, and that is Shane, by the way, with the beard. And that is, you get a little bit of a feel for Desert Blockchain Camp there in the background. But the video on the left, it was our introduction to SNAC, which stands for Stellar NFT NFC Access Control, SNAC. And then the video on the right, where Shaw is holding up a Stellar cookie that we made, is our pitch for the Stellar Community Fund number 11. How does this relate to Soroban? Well, SNAC is a minimal viable product at this point, but we are interested in incorporating Soroban into the SNAC project as time progresses. So, and the voting will conclude for the Stellar Community Fund number 11 this Sunday, December the 4th. So something you might be interested in participating in is our monthly open house, which takes place on a Saturday, and this will be Saturday, December the 10th, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the first hour is basically when we have a live stream, and we'll go over kind of a presentation. But we're going to focus on Stellar Quest exercises, the level 1, and then we're going to do at least a preliminary introduction of the Stellar Quest number 5, I believe it is, which focuses on Soroban, which is currently active. And it's important to note that there's $1 million available on the table between now and December the 15th associated with the Soroban project and some other items. And, you know, primarily you will see Anuhia is sort of the leader of that particular funding mechanism. And she talks about that in this session. So that's about it. Yeah, the last slide is just a placeholder, but hopefully that gives you an indication as to what Soroban is and what some of the opportunities are for you and your projects and so forth. And Desert Blockchain is committed to being, you know, a resource for you if you're interested in collaborating on projects, learning together, and creating some innovation using the Stellar ecosystem as well as other ecosystems. So I will stop screen share at this point. And hopefully my computer's a little slow because I got a lot going on. But yeah, so looking in the chat for YouTube, I don't see any. Hey, Matthew.
I had a question actually. So I was curious because I did watch the Twitch VOD that you sent me, but I wasn't able to find, or I guess I don't recall if there was like, I'm trying to find like the requirements and like how because I think that our project is actually a great fit and we want to pursue that, but I wasn't able to find like specific links on like what are the requirements. Is that all in the video? Should I just like go and rewatch it, or?
You should watch it, and I'm not totally clear on what the requirements are either, and I'm not sure that they've totally been defined. So, I would watch the entire video and then start to participate in the Soroban quest, the live quest, and I believe the last one's going to be dropping like Monday or so. But I'm not sure it's totally defined at this point. So yeah, check it out. And would you like to talk about your project a little bit and how you
Yeah, Carpenter. It's going pretty well. We're still kind of at the same place. I've had to, finishing up my last 2 weeks of undergrad ever for the rest of my life. So I'm pretty excited about that. But right now doing a rework on the Svelte, making sure that everything's like super high quality. We are experimenting with like influencer marketing, seeing kind of like what fits and what doesn't, if we need to do it, or what kind of the ROI on that is. So
cool.
Yeah.
And that's coreprotect.io, right?
Yeah.
And you could go to that site and see it. So Matthew, since you are a developer and I know a little bit about your areas of interest, I'll talk a little bit about the overall ecosystem, and I'll talk about some of the technical pieces to Soroban that you might find interesting.
Great, yeah.
First of all, the majority of the Stellar ecosystem up until Soroban has been in JavaScript. Now they have a variety of SDKs for other languages and so forth. So it's not just JavaScript, but one of the things I like is their focus on JavaScript and how developer friendly they have made the ecosystem. Now, when it comes to Soroban, however, they've built that in Rust. So, I know you are familiar with Rust, and, I think that could be an attractive point for you to get involved in the Stellar Quest, live quest associated with Soroban. I think somebody with your skills in JavaScript, TypeScript, you're interested in using a functional approach to JavaScript, I think is a very attractive profile to jump into Soroban and see what you could create and what sort of incentive grants and so forth would be available to you. So I'm still getting my arms around Soroban. I wish I was as technically savvy as you are. I'm still, boosting my technical skills, but I just would like to put that out there to the developer community, that it's, it's a bit to take on, but there is help, and it's a learning process for all of us. So I would like to mention that our intention after that open house on December the 10th is to schedule more sessions at Desert Blockchain Camp that will be tutorials, workshops, and so forth. So stay tuned for that. So anything else, Matthew, that comes to mind?
I don't think so, no. I guess if you could connect me with, was it a new Nuhia that's kind of in charge? I think that might be the best way for me to kind of get rolling with stuff on our end.
Definitely.
I would like to go to. I'm leaving. I'll be out of the country pretty much all December. So otherwise, I probably would go to the thing on December 10th. But
cool. Well, I think after the first of the year and after the holidays, the momentum will continue to build around Soroban and so forth. I'll definitely connect you with Anuhia. At Discord is a key element in the entire Stellar ecosystem and the community, Stellar Community Fund and so forth. So I would recommend that you join or, ask for an invitation to the Stellar Quest Discord channels and so forth. And that will open up opportunities to connect directly with the key folks in
Okay.
this.
Is that the Stellar Community Discord?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so you just joined.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, just join that, and you should actually be able to message Anuhia that way. So
I'll get that
yeah.
taken care of.
So yeah, I hope this has been valuable to folks that maybe aren't as familiar with Stellar and the Stellar ecosystem. And I hope that just the sheer size of the Soroban Adoption Fund, $100 million, that's an amazing amount of money to introduce, anything in any kind of ecosystem. And the other part that I would like to emphasize is the Stellar Community Fund number 12, I think will happen like about the middle of next year. That happens twice a year now. They launch a Stellar Community Fund. And in the Stellar Community Fund number 11, they increased the grants from 8 million lumens, which is around $600,000 or $700,000, to 12 million lumens. So they bumped it up over $1 million. Just to give you some idea of the activity around the Stellar Community Fund, they had 152 applications. They accepted 50 of those applications, and I believe they had about 47 pitches in the pitch session. And they had almost all the participants participate in the boot camp, which the SNAC team participated in, and we found it to be a really, really valuable experience. So I'll check, but I think I can put a link to the pitches. There's about 6 hours of pitches, but the projects that were participating in the Stellar Community Fund number 11, I'm extremely impressed with. So check that out as well. So Matthew, any other questions or comments before we wrap this up? What's that?
I was just saying thanks for the presentation.
Yeah. Well, have a great travels, and I know you're off to a really cool blockchain conference, and I was looking at that information and some of the speakers and the lineups and so forth. So we'll be interested to hear about that, and we'll definitely be interested to hear about CoreProtect.io and see, what you create next when you return from your travels, and also get you connected with the Stellar ecosystem. All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording and basically say good night, and thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.